Hi, this is James with CRS and the Proven Path podcast. We're here today, and I have to tell you, we're really excited for the power-packed panel that we have. We've got Lee Barrett here from Las Vegas, Mike Parker from northern Cincinnati, Kentucky area, and I'm James Nellis here from Alexandria, Virginia. We're here today just to talk about topics that would interest you. Why? Because we're one of you. We are active real estate practitioners doing it every day, not only engage with the consumers, but also with our peers as other realtors. So today as we start, we want to just get a feel for Lee and Mike and how long they've been in the business and really what is their business?
Well, I'm in the residential real estate business in Las Vegas. Been practicing for 34 years. Never seen a market like this. 2011, foreclosures, short sales, traditional owners. We have a few of those still left.
Mike Parker from northern Kentucky. About 70% of my business is residential, but I also do a lot of land and farms in the six-county area.
That's great. Part of the reason I wanted to have both of you on here because we all cover such diverse areas. We've got metro areas, we've got rural, we've got the Vegas Strip, of course, that some of us have partied at before. What's unique, really, about your market? Both of you have spent time around the country. What makes it unique there?
Well, the uniqueness of the Las Vegas market and kind of in comparison with the D.C. market is you have a market and we don't. We have to struggle every day to get listings to sell. We're selling foreclosed properties. It's a difficult time, but you know, the more you learn, the more likely you are to succeed, and that's what CRS has helped me do.
One question for you, Lee. Do you ever sell a hotel down there? Well, those mega strip?
I almost sold a brothel.
That's interesting. There we go. I won't touch that. My market is unique, and James, you've been down to my place before. We have subdivisions, suburbs, just like everybody else, but I also have a lot of land and farms. I've got a 900-acre farm I'm getting ready to list. I've got 4 or 5 farms that go anywhere from 35, 40 acres up to 300 or 400 acres. I've got about 50 listings right now that are townhomes and condos. So, you know, our marketplace got hit, not as bad as what Lee did in Vegas or South Florida or Phoenix. We're down about 10 to 20% in price. Our agent count didn't get hit that hard. You know, our agent count in our board of realtors, Northern Kentucky Association of Realtors, is about 950. We were 1,200 at tops. So, you know, we haven't got hit that hard.
So the part-timers are hanging on.
Yeah, they're hanging. It's too cheap to get rid of the license. I was trying to tell, I'm a board director or treasurer of the board, it's too cheap for them not to stay on.
Let me ask you both that, just about, is it too easy to get a real estate license?
It has always been too easy to get a real estate license. In the state of Nevada, it's harder to become an appraiser than it is to become a real estate agent. They have to go to 2 years of internship. Yes, we need to seriously look at state statutes that support full-time professionals doing this business.
And well, what's one thing that you would make change? That you'd say they have to be full-time, or what would you say?
No, you know, I think they need mentorship. I think they need a year of mentorship and a standard of practice that they have to live up to a certain amount of volume to be able to keep their license.
I disagree with a little bit. It's not too easy to get it. It's too easy to keep. Okay? You know, the education and getting it, I'm okay. I'm a high school graduate. I'm not a college degree. I've got 60, 70 hours that probably won't ever float anywhere. But, you know, it is too easy to keep it. Okay, Ohio, I don't have an Ohio license. I only have a Kentucky license. But Ohio is 30 hours of CE over 3 years. Kentucky, we're only 6 hours of CE over 1 year. So I mean, it's just too easy. I think it needs to be in that 20 to 30 hours per year is where I think it needs to get into. Then all of a sudden, you know, it becomes a profession. Because there's a lot of, let's face it, a lot of your good salespeople have been a waitress from a restaurant. You look at me, I'm an old farm boy, sells real estate, but I can talk. You know, I've got
sometimes too much.
Yeah, exactly. You know, from there. So I'll take that as a rule here, and I'll pass it over to Lee.
No, I agree. What's interesting, though, is the continuing ed even today is a joke. I mean, I can literally just take my continuing ed online, never show up in a room, and continue doing real estate probably the wrong way.
We had a class with a CE. I said, what did you say? And he said, you know, where you could create, it was on selling foreclosures, on short sales, selling short sales, that you would actually create a false contract and send it in. I said, are you realizing what you are actually saying? And, you know, from my nature, now that instructor is not teaching in our area no more, but it's just, that is the type of instruction some people get. And let's face it, from 1998 to 2006 was a pinnacle. It was a spike. It was just like how the stock market was. It was a spike in the real estate market. The people who came into the business in 98 through 2006 were order takers. They didn't do that much training. And then all of a sudden, the market changes in July of 2006 was the pinnacle. What happens is these people have not had training. And they're going, holy crap, what's going on here? And that's where, some of the people, what I'm seeing in class are people who have been in business anywhere from 3 to 8 years. They're trying to find their way to hang on. They like the real estate business. They were very successful in the order-taking years. But how do I make a living now?
However, even before order-taking years, were the realtors that good? And was the training that good? So, for instance, have you ever been trained or been in a class where that person up front sold more homes than you or were really active in the real estate community?
Now, see, I'm the old-timer here. So, James, when I started selling real estate, you were probably in junior high. But, it is...
Might not have been born yet.
That's possible, true. That is possible. In the beginning, I got into business in 86. 88 was my first year at National Convention. And that's where I met Howard, and that's where I met Pat Zabe and Dave Beeson and Dave Knox and those guys. And that's also where I learned about CRS. Okay, I got my CRS in 92, got pinned in Hawaii. But it is, what happened was in the beginning, yes, you had, because the company sent their agents to the boards and to take classes. That's why your CRS classes in the early 90s and mid-90s were very heavy in attendance because the companies pushed it. Well, in the late 90s, when the business picked up from like 98 to 2003, 2004, you know what? The companies didn't want their people inside the classes. They wanted them on the street selling. And when you start looking at the demographics there, you had your star power, which was there. Most of us all here have been either a member or gone to the conferences at Star Power. You had Buffini, you had Stump there, you had CRS. Those were the 3 or 4 major players in the education there.
But for pure continuing ed education that every realtor has to get on a continual basis, every 2 years, every 1 year, whatever it is, what's our thoughts on that? Lee, I mean, what have you experienced there? Have you sat there where you're like, wow, this is great education. I'm going to become a better realtor because I've sat through this?
I've sat in classes with my head down, and I don't know how many people sit with their head down realizing, oh, my God, what have I got into? There's education out there, and then there's superior education. And most CE education just gives the surface. It doesn't teach them anything about how to do anything in their actual business. There's some classes out there that are pitiful about teaching you how to use your iPhone, and they get CE credits, or how to use your iPad. I mean, it's just a really, really sad time out there with a lot of CE credits. And in my market, we need 24 every year. Every 2 years, I'm sorry. Every 2 years, we need 24. And even when you're at 24 or 30, I still believe that it's not enough. It's the quality of education people are getting. And it's what they need is better performance from the instructors and a lot better information given to them that's timely, because a lot of times it's not timely.
So real just quick on the CE, and then we'll go to the next topic. On CE, if the 3 of us right now could change how it's done, and this is the new course or this is the new way of doing it, what would it look like? What does the realtor today need to know and be empowered with? What would you say from an educational standpoint?
Well, it needs to be in today's events. What's going on right now. Main focus for most agents is short sales and foreclosure training. The biggest thing I think that needs to be happening in training is the financial. They need to be able to learn how to sell homes using finance. I learned that early in the 90s, 2-1 buy downs and things like that. And today they want to hand them off to the loan officer and haven't set it up any at all.
They don't have an idea, do they?
They don't have a clue. They don't know what 1 point equals 1% of the loan amount. And you start talking about that. It's like, here's a good tip for everybody. A lot of agents write in there for the seller to pay closing costs, and they'll use anywhere from 1.5% to 3%. Forget that. Okay, have the buyer pay their own closing costs, or you can raise the interest rate on the mortgage an eighth to a quarter% to pay for that closing cost. If the people are putting less than 20% down and they're going conventional, which you need 5% down, have the seller pay the upfront PMI. That will save on a $200,000 home. That will save the buyer $180 per month in their payment. That will be able to bump them up anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 in buying power, and they don't have PMI. Tell you what, when you start looking at the numbers and you look at that, all of a sudden you become that trusted consultant, and those referrals flow in.
Same thing in our market with foreclosures and short sales. We have a lot of homes that are just totally destroyed inside. We're using a lot of 203K loans. Telling people about 203K loans that haven't had to worry about finding financing for somebody or finding financing where they were able to fix up a home, you can go up to $30,000 in fix up. So a lot of our agents are showing homes that need some work, and most people would walk away from them. Now with the 203K closing within 60 days, it's a great program. And again, it does go back to we have gotten away from the basic skill sets of real estate.
Now, question, have you had that? I've done 303Ks. They are a pain in you-know-what. I mean, have you had we've got some great lenders who have done the work, but, we're just finding that the underwriter has started off, just dragging things out. What's your theory there?
We're having really, really good experience with it because the lender that we're using has a system, and the system is working well. So first of all, you need to talk to other real estate agents in your community that are having good experience with 203K. You have to find the right lender. You have to find the right lender's associates that will go in there and do all the inspections and do everything to get it prepared to be in a position to go ahead and sell. You're moderating. Tell us, dude. What's going on with the market here in DC? I think you guys are the only ones that are actually appreciating and value in the country. Is that right?
Well, the same reason that I live here is the same reason everyone should send their clients here, because it's the best market in the country. I will ask this though. You mention it, and especially if you're a new realtor listening to this, or even a seasoned one, how do you find the best lender? So you mentioned that. You said, hey, choose the right lender. Well, what does that look like?
Well, I can honestly say that I've had 6 lenders in 25 years. 2 are dead, 2 are out of business, and the 2 I still use. I'm extremely picky on my lenders. One of the things what I have done is I've interviewed people. I have Melanie, who's my right hand. She's been with me going on 14 years, and she takes care of the office, and I take care of the street. I'll personally do somewhere between 75 and 100 units, and Melanie does all the processing. I tell the people, if she is happy, I am happy. If she's upset, then I'm upset. And how are you getting back to us? Are you giving us good quality information and things from that nature? One of the things I have found on lenders, how creative are they? Because what I've had to go back and do, just like I was talking about selling financing, I've had to go back to these 2 lenders because they both came into the market in the hot times in that 98 to 2006. I've had to train them. What is a 2-1 buy down? And things of that nature. So it works there.
Yeah, you had the order takers. Yeah.
I think the important thing is you ask, how do you find them? More importantly, how do you train people to not just take everybody that comes through the door? Once you find them and you've got an expectation of a buyer that's going to shop the internet to look for the best interest rate. Sometimes somebody can give you a 0.25% better interest rate, but never close the transaction. So it's about creating an expectation with the consumer. When the consumer meets with your lender, you have a dialogue with them prior to that. This is a trusted advisor. I recommend this person because they may not be the cheapest, but they will close the transaction. And they're not going to take your credit app. They're not going to take things and not put you in a position where you can close. And I think that's really, we as practitioners, we want to help people move into properties, and that's the most important thing.
When I first got in the business, I was really excited, and I thought, wow, this is my job to be the champion for the consumer. I am going to myself discuss with 3 to 5 lenders, get them the best rate, and it was horrible. It was, talk about a time-consuming process, because I'd call one, I'd get their rate, I'd call the next one, I'd call the next one, I'd call the next one. I ended up talking to 4 or 5 lenders on each deal, and what would they do? each of them would follow up with me, right? They'd say, hey, James, am I getting the deal? Am I getting the deal? So I would feel horrible that way. My client would be ecstatic, and it took me 2 days to do this. So finally, I said, this is not working. This is not the way. It doesn't help my client. It doesn't help the lender. It doesn't help any of the process. So we realized, you know what? We're going to have 3 to 4 lenders that are all good. One of my guys, literally last week, we went contract to close in less than 10 days on a $1.3 million house. So you got the guys who can get it done, no problem. They'll get it done tomorrow.
You make a great point, and here's what I have learned to do on lenders. As I do a virtual introduction by the internet with the lender and the client, I put the phone number into the email where the lender can call the client. I break it down like that, and what we have found is that breaks the ice, and then the lender is required to call the client as soon as possible. Because what I want to do is I don't want a pre-qual. Don't give me no pre-qual. I want a full-blown loan application taken, and I want it turned in.
Do either of you have a back-end channel where your lender and you work together, where you can see when he's called, you see the notes section or any of that? Either of you using that?
I don't see that, but I get CC'd on a lot of emails back and things and forth. And one of the things is Mel is constantly following up. We've got so many, A buyer can buy today. B wants to buy today but cannot have a home for sale, waiting on a tax check, whatever. C is everybody else. We've got so many C buyers that come through internet leads. We are trying to get them into the application process because I know if they move up to the application process, all of a sudden they went from a C to a B.
Every realtor wants to know a couple different things. We all work with sellers. We all work with buyers. So let's spend a little bit of time with sellers. Once you do that walkthrough and you're about to take the listing, tell me what it looks like. Is it different than in the 80s, Mike? Or is it different than when you first started, Lee? Are there different questions you now ask when you're qualifying them that help you decide, is this somebody I want?
Oh, absolutely, especially in a market that's devastated. When you're in a market that is 70% short sales, you have to have a discussion with them if they're willing to come to the table with money. The dialogue over the last 2 years has completely changed, and so depending on what market you're in, you need to sit down, come up with some clarified questions that you ask every one of your sellers, and that way you can position yourself to know if you want to take that listing. Because remember, people that are in distress are in distress in several places, not only in their house but other things, and they become so consumed by the distress that sometimes they're not willing to do the things that are necessary to help themselves out of the financial position they're in.
And your questions are probably before you ever do anything, right? You haven't even left your desk.
Absolutely. Surprisingly, my listing appointments are all now in my conference room. I send them a package. They come to my office. If they don't show up, I haven't lost any time. If they show up and they're not prepared, I haven't lost any time. If they show up prepared and go over things, then I go look at their house as a second part of our appointment, actually. So I'm doing a 2-step listing appointment, but I'm going after I've actually signed the contract up, because the condition of the house really doesn't make any difference in a market that's constantly going down. So
now you have a pre-list package, and is there something in there that you believe is unique? Something that you're using today that they go, damn, if I don't use Lee, I'm stupid.
I use an expectation letter. I use an expectation letter that lets them know that in today's marketplace, they are not in Kansas anymore. And it gives them a detailed analysis of what they're going to go through over the next 60 days to the next 6 months. And it tells them that they're going to be up and down. They're going to have to provide information they don't want to provide. They're going to provide tax returns. They're going to be very frustrated. And I'd rather have them have that expectation up front. And that way what I do is when they call me and they say, Lee, I'm really frustrated about this, I say, go to number 12 on your list. And they say, well, yeah. I said, did I say that was going to happen? Yes. And so expectation of the consumer is really important, especially if you're representing sellers in a distressed market, because they need to understand that you're doing everything you possibly can. Just because bodies aren't coming through that house, it's not because you haven't positioned it. It's because they are not sometimes cooperating in getting the information to you in a timely manner, so you can help them know what's going on. If they don't tell you they just got something from from the bank, then you're in a position where you're kind of blind. You got to keep good levels of communication going both ways.
But you're not going to come to my house. You're not going to see my house. I got a really nice two-story here that we've worked really hard. We've got all this money into the landscape and everything, and you're not willing to come out to my house?
Tons of upgrades. Tons
of upgrades. And you know what? No. And I appreciate you, but there's so many people that we have an opportunity to meet that we have to filter people that are extremely motivated. And if you're not motivated enough to come talk to me, then I probably don't want to work with you. Because we first started off with distressed properties, going out to these properties, and we knock on the door. And when we knock on the door, we'd see the window come apart, and they'd look to see if there was any tagging on our vehicle to say where we were from. And so after a while, I got tired of going on appointments where people would not open up the door or people were not there.
Where you were wearing flak jackets?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. No, that's not DC. I'm sorry. That's right.
Your question was, what is the first thing we talk about after you go do a home inspection or after you come into the listing? Come into the house, sit down, do a little chit chat, do the walk through the house, and you come back. And I ask them, and I already know the answer because I've usually pulled a real list or pulled information on it, but when was the last time they did a transaction? That's the main thing I want to know. If it's prior to May 1st of 2009, then I said, I take a sheet of paper, blank sheet of paper out, and I write. I said, May 1st, 2009, the real estate world changed. That is what's called, and you can Google this and find this, it's called the Home Valuation Code. And what it did, it changed everything. It went from one underwriter to 3 underwriters. That is also the day the underwriters were given the authority to override the appraisal, and they can make changes to the appraisal. Okay, that changed real estate. And as I explained to them, I says that made the appraisers very conservative. One of the things we have to do is in pricing, we have to get the appraiser to appraise it. 100% of everything must appraise a purchase price now. But we have 3 underwriters that are in 3 different locations. We must get the loan through and pass. And I said they are the gatekeepers. And I set that up before we go into anything because the next thing I'm getting ready to start to talk about is pricing. If you're not doing a pre-listing kit, that is the best thing you can do. Rick Wright once said this. He's an agent out of Columbus. He said 75% of your listing presentation is the pre-listing kit done the right way. If you don't know what a pre-listing kit is, take a CRS 201. That's the listing course, and they'll be able to show you and tell you what it is. But one of the things is getting that pre-listing kit out to get you the quality information and go. Google that or email me, mike@mikeparker.com, and I'll send you this home valuation code there.
How many of your competitors are doing it?
Oh, 0. Nobody knows what it is.
Lee?
Very little. And interesting thing is go on YouTube and put in pre-listing package, and you'll see some very creative ways to deliver those packages via YouTube, via different market ideas, and some great ideas on how to do it. Actually, a PowerPoint presentation where you send it to your client and have it all on the PowerPoint. There's so many ways. You just got to make yourself a little different than your competitor.
Lee out of Vegas, Mike out of Kentucky. I'm James out of Alexandria, Virginia. Thanks for your time today. I hope you got something that you could use tomorrow. Hopefully you'll remember, if you don't have one, look into how you create your own pre-list package that will separate you from your competition. And you go out and you interview your lenders and you decide who is your go-to lender, 2 or 3, that you can always use.
And use an expectation letter too.
If you have any other questions or things that keep you up at night and you want to know, how do I do this better? How do I become a better realtor? Email solutions@crs.com.
The opinions expressed here are the views of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Council of Residential Specialists.